What's up, everybody? Jason back with another episode of Vendors, where we sit down with the leading wedding industry professionals and we have a one-on-one intimate conversation and deal with the questions that couples like you have about your wedding planning. Today, we're sitting down with florist Beata from Dahlia Blooms from the Portage Park neighborhood of Chicago. Let's get started. Welcome back, guys. Today we're sitting down with florist Beata from Dahlia Blooms. Beata, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thank you.
So can you tell us who you are and what you do?
So I've been a floral designer for over 20 years and took over my family's business in 2012.
How many weddings do you think you've serviced?
God, within the past 20 years, hundreds. We're a smaller floral shop, so we average about 35 weddings per year.
What are some good questions that a couple should ask a florist?
Some good questions are like what flowers are in season, and the flowers that are out of season are more expensive. Spring flowers like hyacinths, peonies, all those flowers, they're not available. I would say, fall, winter, they're not available. So I would ask what flowers are in season, and you have to give yourself time to at least, I would say 3 to 6 months to order wedding flowers, because it takes a while.
So if a couple comes, they should be coming about 3 to 6 months before.
Yeah. It takes time to order some of these flowers and make sure that we could get them in time. And then also we do get booked very fast. So I would say at least 6 months is good.
You're talking like 6 months. That's not only just to book you for the date, but that's also gives you enough time to get everything ready.
Right.
Obviously, you're not getting everything ready the morning of.
Right.
So what goes in to doing floral design for a wedding?
A lot. We're calling multiple wholesalers, and your flowers are coming from all over the world.
Really?
Yeah. So a lot of our flowers come from Holland.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
You import them. Okay. I've heard of this happening, but I've never actually put it into consideration. So can you talk about that a little bit?
So a lot of the flowers are shipped from Holland, and a majority of our flowers are from there, but they also come from Ecuador, Colombia. We try to work with local farms as well, during spring and summer season. But a lot of the special flowers are from other countries. A lot of people forget about that. They think the flowers grow in our backyard, but they don't. A lot of people want to work with specific colors, and then just getting that one color could be hard to get. So
really?
Yeah.
I'm an average person, and I would think if I'm going to a flower shop, you just have it in stock. It's in the back room.
Right.
Obviously, from what you just told me, that's not the case.
No, it's not.
So what are some examples that you've had to deal with where it's this is going to be much bigger?
Weather could be a factor in ordering flowers. So hurricane season, anything, there was a bad hurricane, when was it? A year or two ago, Florida. A lot of our flowers came from Florida. A lot of them couldn't be shipped. That could be a factor. So I had to get in blue orchids during that time. And my supplier called me that week and said, hey, it's hard getting those blue orchids. And this girl's whole wedding was blue orchids. So what I do at that time is I scramble, call all the wholesalers, and found a wholesaler that got them. That was peak of wedding season. So
of course, yeah.
I think I think it was August.
But when a couple comes to you, or in any florist, what are some things they should know that they might not know? These flowers are coming from overseas,
right,
or the type of year. What are some other things that they should be aware of?
How much labor is involved in a wedding, and just not only a wedding, a corporate event, anything. It's a lot of labor, and a lot of couples think, I could just do this myself, but it's the time that it takes to make a bouquet or anything. Yeah.
So what goes into it?
So, it starts from the second I meet you, writing everything down, all your ideas, what colors you like, what flowers you like. And then from there, I determine what flowers are best to go in all the bouquets, your centerpieces. And then not only that, the product, what vases it goes to, all the flowers that a lot of people are very specific on what vases they want to use. And then from there, like I go to all the suppliers, I look at all the flowers that I could use in your wedding. And then the week of, I start Tuesday and it basically goes up until Friday or Saturday.
For the
I'm working.
one wedding?
Yes.
You're starting on Tuesday.
Yeah. I have to make sure the flowers come in okay. I have to make sure they're processed. And if any flowers don't look good, I have to switch them out.
Yeah.
So, and that happens. So, and I don't tell any of my couples that because I don't want to stress them out. But yeah, it's all the behind the scenes. Like if something doesn't come in nice, or I want to make sure all my flowers look good. If I don't like something, if I don't like the color, the shade, I'm returning it. And if one wholesaler doesn't have it, I scramble and go look for another wholesaler. So it's the driving. There's a lot of driving involved sometimes. Sometimes wholesalers are an hour away. I don't share that. I don't want to stress them out.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing is when you deal with a professional vendor, our job, no matter what field you're in, our job is to take that stress away and be like, I'm going to work with you, but I'm going to do all this stuff for you so you don't have to worry.
Right.
I think when any wedding couple is planning their wedding, a budget is probably the first thing they have to do and should do. And it's very important to be realistic. So what are some average wedding flower prices that either you've seen or deal with yourself?
I would say for flowers, it's anywhere between $2,000 and $5,000. The more tables you have, if you'd like big, elaborate, large centerpieces, then that could go over $5,000. But I would say the average is, between about $2,500, $4,000.
What actually are the flowers of a wedding day? Because I think when a lot of couples think about it, they think about the boutonnieres, they think about the bouquets. Oh yeah, then there's the centerpieces. Oh yeah, then there's this. So what goes into a floral package?
The bridal bouquet, the bridesmaid's bouquet, the groom's boutonnieres, parents and grandparents, and then godparents. Those are like the main people. Then there's flower girl, ring bearer, the ceremony flowers.
What goes into that? Because I think a lot of people might forget that.
So for your ceremony, if it's outdoors, you would have 2 large arrangements somewhere on the side, or a lot of people think that if it's in a garden, you don't need a lot of flowers. So I would just keep it simple and put like some simple decor on the chairs or something down the aisle. I mean, in a church, then usually people have flowers by the altar, and then also like down the aisle, some type of pieces or some type of flowers on the pews. And then indoor in a like some type of, I don't know, loft building, you could have candles, and then people go with the backdrop. So, and then all the centerpieces, cake flowers.
Oh, I didn't even think about that, but yeah, you're right.
The place card table. So yeah, it all depends how much you want to spend.
Right.
And so I do simple weddings and I do more elaborate weddings. So it all depends.
What are some aspects that a floral designer, a florist, brings to a wedding day that most couples aren't aware of?
I just think flowers are so important. Makes your space look warm and inviting. And I've done weddings with less flowers where people were either just put candles on the table or themselves and wanted just personal bouquets and boutonnieres. But I feel if you bring flowers to your wedding, it just creates a warm, inviting atmosphere, you know, versus having like artificial flowers. Or I just think it makes a huge difference.
What are some of your favorite moments working in the industry, or what are some of your like proudest moments that you've had?
I have a lot. One of the most important things that people refer our business, but I just think referrals are the best way. Tell someone, hey, this person does a great job. And one of my proudest moments was last year. I delivered a wedding, and I just remembered this day, and the bride opened the door and behind her were her bridesmaids, and it was like 4 other girls of weddings that I've done, which I didn't know they were all standing up in the wedding. And it was one of those moments where it just makes you proud, and you're like, okay, all these girls referred me. Yeah, that was one of my best moments. Clients into friendships. And,
right.
Yeah.
I think that was something I didn't realize going into this business.
Right.
because you get to know them through the process. And
Right.
can you touch on that a little bit? Like, because they're not just picking flowers out of a catalog and saying, do it.
When I meet the couple, I always ask them, how'd you meet? Kind of like what they like to do together, and then kind of get to know them as a couple. It helps me pick out what I want to use for their wedding day, kind of incorporate their relationship into the wedding day and the flowers and everything. So yeah, that's one of the main things I like to do when I meet a couple.
Something that I've touched on in every episode is if you click well with your vendor, typically everything's going to go super smooth, because if you click well, they have the vision for you, with you, instead of, oh, here's my idea, go with is my idea.
Right.
It's like, no, I'm taking your idea and we're going to make it better.
Yeah.
So you've already brought this up, but I really want to talk about it. How do you handle multiple bookings, or do you handle multiple bookings?
So we used to do multiple bookings, but I figured with the city traffic, as bad as it's getting, and it's getting worse with the Uber drivers and Lyft drivers, we don't do multiple bookings anymore. So that's why I think it's important to book at least 6 months ahead to make sure your date's open. We just realized, if we booked in the suburbs and then have to go back to the city, the driving and everything, it was just too much. So we just do one wedding per Friday, per Saturday, per Sunday.
And that allows you to spend more time and dedication for that couple.
Exactly, yeah.
So when people are looking at hiring a wedding florist, there might be some sticker shock. But can you break down where that price actually comes from and why it's actually may not be that expensive?
It all depends how big your wedding is. A lot of people don't realize the more tables you have, the more centerpieces you have, your bridal party, if you have 9-10 bridesmaids, it's going to get more expensive. So when they see the whole total, it might be a shock, after 25 tables and then 10 bridesmaids, So a lot of people don't realize, the cost of flowers is going up, and a lot of it has to do with they're flown in from another country. Our supplier picks them up from the airport, and then we pick them up from the supplier. They deliver to us. So that's all in the cost of flowers. There's so much that's involved in the cost of flowers. So we do have a big overhead.
If a couple wanted to get beautiful flowers from a florist, what are some ways that they can save money?
There's a lot of ways you could save money. I tell people that you could reuse your wedding flowers on your wedding day. Like all your bridesmaids bouquets or ceremony pieces could be reused at your reception. People have tried saving a lot of money, and just wanted to use the bridesmaids bouquets as their centerpiece. But I recommend using your bridesmaids like for the head table, sweetheart table.
But I see that very often. And it's very pretty.
Yes, ceremony pieces too. If you have any ceremony pieces, they could be reused in front of your sweetheart table, or when people walk in as an entrance piece. I'm big on that, on reusing flowers.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. I think that when couples do come to me, it is easier to tell me what kind of budget you have, because then I could give you ideas on what goes into that budget. If, maybe those peonies or ranunculus or hydrangea could be cut out.
You're saying words I don't understand.
Yes. Like the higher end flowers, I just think maybe you don't need them. You could work with some other flowers and just make it look just as beautiful. So budget is important, because then that'll help me give you ideas on what could you afford for flowers, and maybe you could use more greenery. Okay. Even though greenery is kind of still expensive too. A lot of people think greenery is cheap, but it's not. Yeah.
I also think it's very important to realize transportation of the flowers from the ceremony to the reception. Keep that in mind when you're doing your day planning and you're or talking to who needs to be doing that. Like, do you offer that as well? Or like once you drop off flowers, you're good? Or is that something that the bridal party or someone else should be taking care of?
If they want us to stay and make sure everything's, transported from ceremony to reception, then we'll take care of all that. Some people do it themselves, but a lot of people don't have time. There's too much going on. So that's where we come in, and we make sure we deliver to your hotel or wherever you're getting ready, and then the ceremony, and then from ceremony to reception. And then we have to break down at the end of the night. So it's like a whole whole day process.
So you're not just dropping them off and
No.
going home most of the time?
No, I make sure either I hand them to you or they're handed to you wherever you're getting ready at. Yeah.
Beata, if someone was so inclined to reach out to you, to ask you questions, to further talk to you, to work with you, what's the best way they can reach you?
The best way is by email, dahliabloomschi@gmail.com.
And are you on Facebook or Instagram?
I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, so it's all under Dahlia Blooms Design, and you can reach me on any of those as well.
Perfect. Beata, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
We hope this episode of Vendors helps you on your wedding planning. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, and to share to make sure you and your fellow planning couples don't miss a single episode. If you enjoyed watching this video, be sure to check out our entire conversation in the podcast. And be sure to check out all of our episodes about these amazing wedding industry professionals. We'll see you next time on Vendors. Vendors is produced and edited by Night Owls Media. More information can be found at nightowlsmedia.com.